All right, so hi everyone. My name is Syanne Seth, and I am running to be RSA's Director of Advocacy for the upcoming school year. So let's see. So who am I? I'm Syanne, or Cy for short. It doesn't really matter what you guys call me. Yeah. I'm a rising senior from a little city outside of Philly called Chester, PA, but I currently live in Newark. My major is human services, and I have a concentration in clinical services. And I also have a disability studies minor. On my campus, I've lived in George Reed, Indy, and in the courtyards, and I'm hoping that I get the courtyards next year as well. And a fun fact about myself is that I love reading tarot cards and studying astrology. And if you guys are interested as well, I just dropped my tarot page right at the bottom. So what have I done so far? So freshman year, I sat on the George Reed Community Council as Vice President of Advocacy, as well as the Multicultural Chair. I was also an intern for the Cultural Programming Advisory Board. So my freshman year with RSA, I led the dining reform along with Ryan, which is a very, very exciting thing as a freshman. And that kind of like jump-started me into the realm of RSA. And then sophomore year, I kind of took a break because I was in like a transition phase of getting myself together. I switched my major like 5 times, so I was just trying to get myself together. But towards the end of sophomore year, I joined Sisters on the Move, where I was a general board member. Then I became a DEL, a diversity enrichment leader for the Office of Admissions. And then junior year came around and I became the RSA Director of Advocacy. I became the programming chair for Sisters on the Move. And then I was a DEL again for this year. And next year, it's to be determined. I actually got news last Wednesday that I will be the upcoming Vice President of Sisters on the Move, and wishful thinking that I will be able to be a DEL coordinator. So yeah. All right, so why am I running? Well, since you asked, I have a passion for advocacy. On and off campus, I enjoy advocating for the needs of other people, places, and things. So as Director of Advocacy next year, I have 2 main goals: Dining Reform 2.0 and creating an accessible resource for students of color on UD's campus. So Dining Reform 2.0 is an initiative that the CDC is currently working on. However, the goal is to make it as grand scale as the OG Dining Reform from 2019. The ultimate vision is to create a safe and accessible dining experience for students on campus next fall and beyond. And the Students of Color Focused Initiative is currently nameless. However, the goal of this initiative is to help create a safe haven for all students of color, either in person or virtual. The vision of this is to work with multicultural ORSOs such as the Black Student Union, the Indian Student Association, and OLA to create a resource where students can find their own solitude on campus. And although those are my 2 main goals, advocacy never stops, it only revolves. As previously mentioned, advocacy is my passion. I love putting the work in to help make a change, whether it's on campus or in the real world. And I'm 100% open-minded to working on various initiatives that are brought to me. And I love a good challenge no matter how stressful it can be. If you ask any of the CDC members, they will tell you I have not slept in the past week. And that's because I am working on change. Thank you everyone for listening, and I yield the floor for questions. I think I did that right.
Thank you so much, Sai. Yes, that was correctly said. We will now move into a period of question and answer for a duration of 5 minutes, which is extendable 2 times. I will start the time with the first X in the chat. Connor?
So I saw that you are redoing the dining survey that Ryan had initially brought with his time in the advocacy position. How do you plan to build on his results that happened from that one, and what different results do you hope to get from yours?
So yeah, the CDC and I were working on, at the moment, the survey portion of the initiative is to focus on dining hours and how accessible it is for students, because earlier in the semester we kind of transitioned from dining in and taking out, so we kind of want to like get students' thoughts as to how they feel about those changes and what the university could do to implement those changes, if that answers your question.
Yes, thank you.
Go ahead, Abby.
Awesome. Something that stood out to me was the Students of Color Focused initiative that you mentioned. So I'm wondering as you plan to collaborate with multicultural RSOs across campus, how do you plan to kind of differentiate from their platforms and what they stand for and the work that they're doing, in the sense of like avoiding saturating with the same type of programming or similar type of work? How do you kind of plan to differentiate what you do with the advocacy committee in that area?
Yeah, so I think the main goal of the initiative is to ultimately find a way that, how can I say this? How the advocacy committee or the campus development committee could assist other RSOs in gauging input from the community. Because so far, what I've personally seen on campus is that for students of color, we don't have our main resource. For us, it was the Center for Black Culture, but due to COVID, we're not able to access it. So ultimately, I would like to create something that where we could go for help or just someone to talk to on a personal level, either in person or virtually. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, thank you.
And then go ahead, Connor, if we have time.
I believe you answered my question, but I'm going to answer it. I'm going to ask it anyway. So I know you're working with multicultural RSOs across campus. Is there anything like maybe a Department of Diversity and Inclusion that you could also work with? Is there any resource like that? Or is there nothing like that and that is the goal, which I think is kind of what you said, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
I'm not exactly sure there's like a specific department. As of right now, I do know like the only multicultural department that I can recognize is the Center for Black Culture. Other than that, it's literally all of the RSOs that are basically doing all the work and putting on programming. We don't necessarily have like a specific area where we can just come and meet. And since COVID is happening, the CBC is gone. So I feel like we don't have that home anymore, if that makes sense. Go ahead, Ryan.
So what are some ways that you would improve engagement and participation of VPs of advocacy, GA members on your campus development or advocacy committee going forward next year?
So something I've been trying to implement over the course of this semester is kind of having more structure. I wanted to kind of implement like little positions, like maybe like mini cabs. In the CDC, it kind of got tabled because of different reasons, but that is something that I would like to carry on to next semester. Ultimately, creating like a little, maybe a mini RSA where we have like the head VP of advocacy. But I definitely want to make the CDC a lot more structured. And
Q&A has expired. I can entertain a motion to extend Q&A. If you would like to extend Q&A, put an X in the chat. Lorna.
Motion to extend.
Perfect. Do we have a second? Second from Heather. Sai, you can finish up what you're saying.
I honestly lost my train of thought. But I do want to create more of a structure within the CDC. I talked with Ryan and Abby in the beginning of the semester, and they were on board with that idea as well. But ultimately, I kind of want the CDC to be what it was my freshman year with Ryan. We are a very tight-knit family on a personal and professional level, and we all were in it to win it. I'm going to say it like that. We set goals and we accomplished most of those goals, and that's the mission that I would like to carry on as we go into the next semester. So yeah, I hope that answered your question, Ryan.
Are there any other questions, maybe from some of our GA members? If there are no more questions, I can entertain a motion to end Q&A. Heather?
Motion to end Q&A.
Awesome, thank you. Do we have a second? Second from Sylvia, awesome.